And then I'm going to share my screen and we'll be off and running. Okay, so hopefully you all can see the Wildlife Insights screen. Could I get just like one thumbs up that it's working properly and you can see the globe kind of going through? Okay, fantastic. So this is the program. You search Wildlife Insights, it's going to be the very first thing that pops up. That's what you're going to want to click on. And it's going to take you to this home screen where the first thing you want to do is sign in, or you can create your own account. So at the end of this meeting, I'm going to share the login information for the general tagging account that is through the University of Utah. And so that information will grant you access. If you're a Wildlife Watch participant, that's going to grant you access to that project. If you're working on the UN project, that's not going to grant you access. You're going to have to create your own account, and I'm going to have to add you individually to that project. And it's not a problem. Creating an account is very easy. You just click on the sign in button. And right there, don't have an account, sign up to Wildlife Insights. Now, creating an account is easy. Getting it verified is a little bit of like an NSF type of like security level 4 ordeal. And I don't really know why, but I'm going to walk you through exactly what's going to happen. So you're going to click on this sign up to Wildlife Insights thing, and you're going to fill out these really simple things for getting your account. You're then going to get a confirmation email from Wildlife Insights that says apply for account approval. You're going to want to first verify your email. Then you're going to want to click on that apply for account approval. That is then going to take you to another like drop down menu that you're going to see right here. And I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to create a new account, but it's going to take you to another drop down menu where you provide a little bit more information. And then you specify the project that you're interested in or the organization that you're interested in. For every single one of you that wants to create your own account, which again, if you're here for Wildlife Watch, you do not have to create an account. If you're here for UN, you'll want to create your own account. All you have to put for that is Wasatch Wildlife Watch is the organization you're interested in. For all of the different questions that ask, like, what project do you want to work on? What? Just say Wildlife Watch is what I'm interested in. Wasatch Wildlife Watch, what I'm interested in. You fill all that on the information. That goes directly to the developers of the program that then approve your account. That then means you're now an approved user within Wildlife Insights. You would think you're done there, but you're not, of course. And so then what you have to do is send the email you signed up to directly to me. That is the email that I will then use to add you to the project. That's when you get your final invite saying that you've now been added to the project. So I don't know why you need more classifications on Wildlife Insights than you do like for the FBI, but you do. And so it just bear with me, go through the entire process. If you follow all of the instructions in the email that's sent out, you'll be good to go. It's just a lot of people will see the email, say, okay, I'm confirmed. They'll then say, hey, add me to the account. And I'll be like, I don't have your username in the thing. I can't do that. And they're like, well, I did it. And I'm like, all right, well, did you apply for account approval? And that usually is where we get tripped up. So make sure you apply for account approval. Make sure you get that approval email. Then let me know you're added and I'll add you to the project. For everyone else, because that applies to maybe like 1 or 2 people in this room. For everyone else, your account's already been approved and I will automatically add you to the project. So all you have to do is stick around till the end and I'll post the username and the password for that project and you're good to go. Then you can start tagging. You don't have to go through that process. Any questions though, for anyone that might be here from UN on how to create your own account? Wonderful. Okay. So let's get right into it then. So we are going to log in and maybe sure I logged into the right account. Cool. When you log in, there's a manage tab right up here. You're going to click on that. That's going to take you to all the different projects that you can be a part of. And cool. It looks like Danielle already has an account. That's perfect. Yeah, feel free to send me that info after the training. So once you log in, you're going to see all the projects that you can be a part of with that particular account. Now, all of these feed into what we call Wildlife Watch. They're all just different projects that we participate in. And a few of them are locked out. You can see like this UN Golf one's locked out and stuff. And the majority of the work that we'll do, though, is right here within here. I love that the last photo that was uploaded was a butt. That's fantastic. We're getting mooned by a mule deer. But that is where you'll go to actually do the vast majority of the work within our organization. And if you're a Wildlife Watch participant that does the like classic summer field season, or that's the type of data you're interested in, this first box, this Wasatch Wildlife Watch box, that's the one you're going to want to be within. You are, however, more than welcome to check out some of my other stuff. This is from Turkey. If you're ever interested in the photos that we get from northeastern Turkey, you're more than welcome to check it out. Human photos are blurred out, but it's the largest density of Eurasian brown bears, gray wolves, and Eurasian lynx anywhere in the world. It's a really fun project. It's closed now. All of that data has been uploaded and stuff, but please feel free to take a look at it. But for everyone that wants to actually do tagging, cataloging, uploading, this is where we're going to be doing all of that stuff. All these other projects are kind of locked out. They're like smaller scale, separate investigations, and they're using separate data sets and everything. So this is where we'll spend the majority of our time. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to a number of different things. You're going to get a summary of everything that's been uploaded so far, details of the project. You can look through all of that. And then these are the two tabs that are going to mean the most. Right now, there may not be anything actually in the Identify tab at the moment. We've got a group of really awesome students and really awesome volunteers, some of you even here tonight, that go through and, yep, they tag all of the photos that are in the system. And so we're actually sitting at 0 right now, which is great because that gives me an excuse to upload some photos from Red Butte that we all get to tag together. So that'll be awesome. And then in cataloged, that's all of the current tagged photos. And I'm going to show you first off what I would start with if I was new to the project. And there's kind of a twofer with this starting process. And then we'll get into the last bit, which is the actual uploading process. So let's start with catalog. And I think I even have that open. Yeah. So when you go to catalog, that's going to show you every photo that is in the system that has been tagged. Now, these are not all 100% verified. And so there is a chance that if you're looking through and you're wanting to look at all the mule deer photos or whatever, that you're going to come across a moose or an elk or something like that. If you're on the ball and you know your elk versus your moose versus your mule deer, you can totally do us a solid by changing that identification. And I'll show you how to do that, but you could absolutely do that. So this is kind of a twofer, but I want everyone to start within the cataloged photos before they move on to uploading photos, because what you can do in the cataloged folder is you can learn how to identify every single one of these species, and it utilizes the AI capabilities of this program better than any other method that we have. And so the way it works is, let's say you were interested in tagging photos, but you really did not know the difference between mule deer or moose or elk or anything like that. You could go through here. You can click on the species drop-down menu, and you can search any species that you want. So I've already preloaded a couple of them. Let's say we were struggling with the difference between bobcat and mountain lion, or mule deer and moose, or elk and moose, or something like that. We can pull up all of those photos, and then it's going to show you every single sequence that's been uploaded to date that has one of those animals identified in it. And this is a great way to teach yourself how to identify all of these animals in this photo. Now, because I included mule deer, like everything is going to be mule deer right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of mule deer so you can see the difference. But you could theoretically click on one of these things and it would show you, okay, that's what a moose looks like in the photos. And when you click on the sequence, when you click on that box like I just did, it pulls up the actual photos from that sequence. You can then click on the photo itself. It'll pull up the full size image. And then if you click right here, it will pull up the high res image of that. And there you go. You can cycle through and you can get an idea of what a moose looks like. You do this enough, you're going to be really good. And now a lot of you also might be standing here and be like, I know what a moose looks like. Why is this guy talking about the differences between mountain lion and bobcat and moose and elk? Well, unfortunately, most of our photos don't look like this where it's super easy to tell what that animal is. Most of our photos, and let's see if I can find one, look more like this, where it's incredibly difficult to see that there's an animal anywhere in this photo. Like, did anybody know that the bobcat is actually right down there? Like that's a lot of what we end up getting. So it makes sense to really spend the time to know how to identify these things. And it's all practice. You're going to get better and better every single time you go through it, but it does take time. It takes time to learn these things. It takes time to go through the process. And so I just highly recommend kind of dedicating yourself to it, doing it, and really you can log those hours. And then at the same time, you get to look at really awesome photos of some really cool species. Like this is a mountain lion literally running through the forest, which is kind of like amazingly dope. And I'm so happy that that photo popped up here. Of course, it's like not going to show right now. But you get to see some really cool photos of animals actually out in the wild. And so this is a good way, though, to train yourself. And I highly recommend that every single participant goes through this process, because this leads us to rule number 1 with image analysis. And that is, if you are unsure in any way, shape, or form about a detection, the rule of thumb is you just skip it. So like I said, this is a group identification program. So you're not on the hook for having to identify every single sequence. If you don't know one, just leave it for somebody else. Just leave it and move on to the next one. Because if you incorrectly identify an animal, all that does is on the back end creates a lot of work for either an undergrad or a graduate student to have to go through and verify each and every single one of those detections. And it's a lot easier if we just get it right the first time. And it's always best if you know exactly what that animal is, make that classification. If you don't know what the animal is, leave it. So like if you are unsure that this is a bobcat, just go ahead and leave it. Don't upload it, or don't tag it, sorry. Okay, so any questions on what you can use the cataloged images for? If you're also just someone that's here to look at really cool photos, click the More Filters button and select the highlighted images only. Apply that, and that's only going to show you the best photos from every single species. Which leads me to the next really important thing. If the photo does not contain a human, the photo is as much yours as it is mine. So if you want to download these photos, if you want to send them to your friends or family or whatever, you can do that. So to do that, you click on the button, you click on the photo, there's a download button right there. You can absolutely do that. Like I said, as being a part of an image analysis, the image analysis team, these photos are now as much yours as they are ours, as long as they're past embargo. So you're not going to see a lot of the photos that are a little bit newer, and that's okay. And so that's the last step in the process. Highly recommend you spend some time in the cataloged images first before you go towards even uploading. So we haven't even gotten to the uploading process. This is just the cataloging process. And then this is my last call for every one of you. If you have gotten to the point where you are like killer at identifying moose, if you want to do something that probably saves us more time than just about anything else, if you go through and just select all of the moose things that are currently in the data set, it's currently 6,200 images of moose. If you spend the time to go through each every one of these and verify that it's actually a moose, that saves us a ton of time. That is a huge help. If you then let me know, hey, I've gone through and verified all the moose detections and I did it on this day, that gets us one step closer to turning these photographs into a downloadable data set that we can then use. So that's a huge help. That's an aside. That's not what you came here for. But if you wanted that to be your goal and you wanted to help us clean up the data set so we could analyze it, that's a huge help. Just going through the data set, verifying that the animals that are identified here are actually correctly identified. Okay, before we move on to upload, is there any questions on how to get to the cataloged images and how to work within the cataloged images folder? Okay, so now we'll go into upload. So to upload, you can either be in the project that you're working in. So you can either click on the Wasatch Wildlife Watch, or you can be at the main page, the manage page right here. there's a big green upload button. You just have to click on that to upload your photos. And we are actually going to go through and upload from one of the sites in Red Butte. So we're going to do the whole process together. And so let's go ahead and start that. I'm going to click in here because it saves us one step in the upload process. So we're just going to click on that. We're going to click upload. We're then going to navigate to where our photos are on our computer. If you have the SD card, that's what I've done. I've just plugged it into my computer. And then I'm navigating to the parent folder. Now, I purposely chose one of my sites that we did not have to, what we call pre-clean the data before uploading. And so we're just going to upload every single photo that came from this site. However, if you are dealing with an SD card that has more than 3,000 photos, I highly recommend cleaning that data set before you upload it, or that folder before you upload it, for two reasons. First reason, anything that's uploaded that I've found that has more than 3,000 photos at once tends to crash Wildlife Insights if it's all uploaded at once. And so you can do it in batches, that's totally fine, but it tends to kind of mess with the program a little bit, and you can get a lot of errors and stuff that way. So it's usually easier to just kind of upload smaller batches. The second thing is when you upload a bunch of blank photographs, somebody has to go through those. And the computer is actually getting really good at this point at automatically sorting out the blank photos from the wildlife photos, but it's not perfect. And so it does actually save time on the back end, because what you'll find, and we'll go through this and you'll be able to actually witness it, the actual uploading process is probably the longest process in this entire like stepwise thing that we got going on here. And that's because each photo, when it gets uploaded, has to be ran through the computer program, has to go through the algorithm that says, oh, there's an animal in this photo, there's not. It then has to be duplicated multiple times and stored on a repository somewhere in Google's world of repositories. And then it has to actually upload the photo to the system. So it's a three-step process, and it takes a little bit of time. So if you take the time to delete your blanks before you actually upload, you end up saving time on the back end, and quite a bit of time. So that leads us to, how do you then delete a blank? If you've ever gone through and combed through photos before, you'll find that as you go through those photos, you can identify where there's blank ones, which is an animal is not in the photo, or there's non-blank ones. Be really, really careful if you're going through this. And all of you, I think, in here have looked through camera trap photos before. So you probably know that you might not think there's an animal in that photo, but if you look hard enough, there is. And so usually I'm really hesitant to tell people to delete any photos beforehand, but this is a pretty hardened group. I feel pretty good about this. Some of you guys, this is what, year 7 or year 8 of participating. And so I do feel pretty good about you going through and deleting those photos. However, if you're at all questioning whether or not there's an animal present in that photo, the rule of thumb is you just don't delete it. And if you have to go that route, and even if your camera took 15,000 photos, it is better to upload 15,000 photos where 14,990 of them are blank, but all of them are uploaded, than to upload just the 10 and you've missed 1 or 2 animal detections. I would much rather have the former than the latter. So a little bit of that. But what we're going to do, so there's only 500 photos for this particular site, which means we could theoretically upload them all at once. But I'm going to upload them in 2 batches, just so you can see how to upload in batches and how easy it is. So we're going to select the first, I don't know, 100 photos from this site, or 120 photos from this site. That's also going to let us identify those photos while we upload the second batch as well. So maybe we'll increase that. Let's do the first 200 photos from this site. So we're going to grab the first 200 photos. We're going to click the upload button. It's going to tell you, all right, I have found 200 photos. Or do you want to upload them? You're going to say yes. And you're going to say, what project is this? Well, there should be only one project that you should be focusing on, and that's Wasatch Wildlife Watch. Again, if you're here for UN, there's other ones, but for the vast majority of people that are here, Wasatch Wildlife Watch is the project that we're going to upload to. Then for camera deployment, you're going to want to search the name of your deployment. There's a very small chance that someone went through your site, especially if we're doing this in January or February, something like that later in the year. there's a decent chance someone went through and created your site, but then just never got to uploading your photos. So before you create a new deployment, and my deployment is called RB09, you're just going to want to search the system to see if RB09 exists. What you're going to find for the vast majority of your sites is that RB09 exists, but the year does not. So I have RB09 2019, 2020, USA 2020, because I was ridiculous during my PhD in naming my sites. And so just bear with me. And if you've done this before, like, don't judge me on how bad I named these sites. But there's no 2024 RB09. So that's a site we need to upload. And so we verified it's not in the system. So we click new deployment and we click new location. You want to click both of those buttons. Some people just do new deployment. You want to make sure you're clicking both new deployment and new location. Once you do that, you're then just going to enter all of the information that you already supplied in your camera site information. So whether or not you use the app, or if you went ahead and filled out the paper data sheets, all of this information is on either one of those. So I'm literally going to pull up the app that I have. It's on my other computer here, and I'm just going to fill out the information that I supplied for this particular site. So this site, 40.799.757 longitude, negative 111.771.729. Country will automatically fill out, but it helps if you help the program, just put United States of America. Location, that's where you're going to put the exact name of the site as it was listed in your packet. So you may have called it something different. You may have gone out and said site 1, site 2, but that's why if you're using the app, at least I have that confirmed site ID, because that's the one that on the front of your data packet, when you were given whatever your site was, that's when you want to put the actual name of your site. Now, if you're with Ewan, you got to name your sites whatever you wanted. Feel free to keep that naming convention, and just make sure you do it for both the location and the deployment name. So that's the only thing. Don't worry about if you're from Ewan. If you're from Wildlife Watch, the name of that site does matter. So we want to make sure that that's written as it is on your data packet. So on my data packet, it is written as RB09.2024. And then start date and end date. So that goes, I have my end date right here, July 7th. Oh, sorry. And then my start date, man, I gotta go way back. My start date was June 8th. Okay, so when you put in the end date and the start date, notice that the camera deployment name automatically fills out, but notice that it also adds the date to the end of it. We just want to delete that off. We want the deployment name and the location name to be exactly the same. Now, if I could, and I have, I would go to Wildlife Insights developers and I would say, why do we have a location name and the deployment name? It trips up everybody that ever uploads data. Why do we do that? And they always tell me, it's important. Don't worry about it. Just have them fill out the same thing. So that's exactly what I'm telling you. It's important apparently that we have both the location and a camera deployment section here. So we just fill them out and we call them the exact same thing. I apologize. It's just the name of the game. Okay, then for the next thing is feature types. If you're, again, following along with the data sheets, you're just going to put everything that you put on that particular section. So for mine, I filled out that we were on a dirt road and that we were right off of a water source. We were right off a creek. If there was anything extra that you put in there, you can put that right here. If not, that's okay. For camera, that's when you're going to put what type of camera you actually used. In this case, we used a Browning for this one, so we're going to fill out Browning. Then for the camera still functioning or has it failed, that is dependent. So you look at your takedown data sheet and you look at your question. Is the camera still functioning? Yep, it was still functioning. Camera height, you can put whatever height you put it at. I hope the majority of us are going to select knee height because that's our protocol. Camera angle, parallel. I hope no one's pointing their cameras completely downwards or like flipping them upside down. So we want them parallel. Bait type, we don't use any bait on this, so that's automatically filled out. Sub-project, this one's really, really important. Please do not upload data from 2024 to the 2019 or the 2020 or the 2018 sub-project. You want to make sure that you are searching 2024 and it will pull up 2024 Wildlife Watch. That's the one you want to hit. That's the good one. Quiet period setting. So that, if you forgot what that one is, that was in your camera installation instructions packet, and that was arbitrary for every single one of us. So every single one of us had a quiet period setting of either 10 seconds or 15 seconds. If you had a Browning camera, you had 10 seconds. If you had a Bushnell camera, you had 15 seconds. So I had a Browning camera, it's 10 seconds. This one's not a big deal if you forget it or if you put a different number in there, because when I get the data on the back end, if I see that you set up a Browning camera, I'll just automatically set it to 10 seconds because I was the one that set those. For detection distance, we don't measure detection distance as part of this project. We used to, we don't do that anymore. And so for this one, it's kind of a nuisance variable at this point. You have to fill something out or it won't let you upload. So I just put 100 or whatever. At this point, I don't actually use that variable, but we keep it there in case we do use it for another project in the future. And then if there's anything unique about this one, I'm just going to put camera was awesome. Then you go ahead, you put it in the remarks, so on and so forth. All right, once you put in that information, you just click upload. When you click upload, you'll see that there's a progress bar right here on your left side. And that's literally going to be going through and uploading the photos. Now, normally it's a little bit quicker. The fact that we haven't uploaded a single photo yet is kind of scary, but give it time. Hopefully it'll upload. But that's the process. So that is literally how it works to upload photos to the system, and it's real time. So we've uploaded 5. If we were to go into the Identify tab, we would find that there's 5 photos in the Identify tab. But what we're going to do before, while it's actually doing its thing, we're going to upload that second batch, and I'm going to show you how nice the system is. So Wildlife Insights is great in that you can upload and you can queue uploads right next to each other. So what I usually do is if I have a camera of 5,000 sites or 5,000 photos or something like that, I'll upload the first 1,000. I'll get the second 1,000 queued up immediately after. I'll get the third 1,000 queued up immediately after. And then I'll just continue to do that until I've gotten all the photos for the site uploaded. One of the most important questions I get, and it's a really, really good one, is what happens if you accidentally upload the same photo twice? Well, that's actually not a problem. Wildlife Insights uses the metadata from each extracted photo. And if it matches the exact same metadata that is uploaded for another photo, it gives you a ping, basically saying like, this photo is already uploaded. And so it will either give you an option to skip or it'll automatically skip that upload. And so just to show you that, I'm going to upload our last like 357, but I'm going to include the tail end, the last 10 photos from the ones that we already uploaded so that you can see how it gets through that. So we're going to upload from 300 to 567. So that's 367 photos, but we're going to select more than that. So let's go ahead and select, I don't know, a couple more, 376. So we're going to upload that. And then when we actually go to click the upload button, you'll see that it drops it down to the number that's actually remaining. So we click upload and it says, okay, I've read these files into the system. Now, instead of actually going through and having to recreate that site's now in the system. So if we just search RB09, there it is, .2024. We just have to click on that and we have to click the upload button. Important though, this is why we don't upload duplicate images. This should automatically be filled out. If I unchecked this box and then uploaded those photos, it would re-upload the ones that have already been uploaded. And so you just want to make sure that this box is checked. I have it programmed so that it's automatically checked. You'd have to purposely not check it. And so please don't purposely not check it. We really want to make sure we're not uploading duplicate photos. That is a pain on the back end. The sequencing actually kind of helps with that, but for whoever's having to look through those photos to see the same photo 3 times before they move to a new one, it's just a pain. And so we don't want to upload duplicate images. All right, so we click on the upload button. And again, you'll see that it has now dropped that whatever 376. It's going to drop that down to 367 once it's done actually uploading. And it's going to be in waiting. So it's not going to upload until it's actually done. So that's the upload process. Before we get to the tagging process, I want to bring us all back and see if there's any general questions before we move forward to the last little bit. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a sec. And I'm just going to open it up to the group. Does anybody have any questions on what we've covered thus far?
Not to interrupt, I had a baby news from
Whoa. Oh, that's so cool. Literally just.
We got a water hole.
All right, Mike. Well, you win for like coolest Zoom moment ever. That's incredible. I'm telling you, if you don't live in Utah already, think about it. It's cool. But anyway, okay, hold on. There looks like there might be a question. If we haven't done this before, do we need to create an account or will we be using the provided one? So it depends. If you're from UN or you're a collaborator at a different university or you're working on a project with me from somewhere else, you'll need to create your own account. If you're here for Wildlife Watch or you're part of Sageland Collaborative's community science team or you're a University of Utah student, then you do not have to create an account. You will have the same account that everyone else will have. That's just a general tagging contributor account to Wildlife Watch. So really good question. I'll be sending out that information separately in a separate email to those of you that applies to. So you'll get that account info and you'll be able to just log in using that stuff. Great question though. Are there any other questions? I feel like I'm flying through this and I just want to make sure I give people enough of an opportunity to ask anything they might be thinking.
So Austin, if we have it set up and we got 5 identical pictures, you want to upload all 5?
So if you have 5 identical pictures, like that just happens to be like bang, 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 and it takes a photo and they all look exactly the same, yes, please do upload all of those. So if that's just a mechanism of the camera that you have it set to burst and it was 5, we do want to upload every single photo from that particular sequence. And the reason for that is the sequencing part of Wildlife Insights, that's done on the back end. So we don't have to go through and identify each individual photograph. We're just identifying sequences. And I'll explain that in a little bit when we actually go to tag these images, what that actually looks like. But we want all of those photos from that individual sequence, just in case there's something in one of those photos that's not present in the other one. And so we do want all of those photos uploaded. But yeah, really good question. Anyone else? Okay, very cool. So let's just keep on going then. We're going to go through actually tagging the images now, which is probably 42 minutes into this, what you actually were here for in the first place. But it's better late than never. Okay, so we're back to the same screen. It's still working on uploading that first batch of photos. That's totally cool. It'll do that in the background. But now if we click on identify, now all of those photos that we were uploading, they've now found their way in this into the system. Oh my God, I love that we have a mountain lion, a black bear, mule deer. Awesome, cool. All right, so we're gonna have some cool stuff to look through. So this is the way we tag images. Now, I don't know why this one's blank. That's odd. It's probably got something to do with it being uploaded just 5 minutes ago. But the way we upload images and the way we actually tag images is we do it on what's called a sequence-based uploading process, meaning that as you upload them, based on the metadata tag for an individual image, if it falls within a certain time frame of the preceding image, it gets grouped in as the same sequence. So when you're looking at this, each of these individual boxes, consider that a row on a data sheet. So if you were out counting birds in Tracy Aviary or something like that, and you would write down a row for, I saw this bird, this number, this time, then you would move on to the next one. That's essentially what each one of these boxes is a row on a data sheet. Now, the red number at the top, that's the actual number of photographs that are associated with that sequence. And so this one is just the setup sequence. Shout out to Gabby, Jenna, and Kinsey. They did say I could use their photos and upload this site, so we're good on that front. And so they are the ones that set up the camera with me when we were out there. And so this is the setup sequence. The setup sequence and the takedown sequence are important. So we're going to go ahead and identify that. So if we click on that sequence, it's going to pull up all of the photos that were taken within 1 minute of the preceding photo. And so we can see it's basically the entire setup process, all the way from us setting up the camera to us getting back to our cars. And this takes us to a really, really important process, and we'll go through exactly what that process is. But the first thing I want you to notice is when you pull up all the photos from a sequence, they're incredibly small. And again, this is something that I wish Wildlife Insights would change, but they won't, and that's okay. So you can make all of these photos larger by making the grid size larger, and that can help you out with identification. Or if you still can't see, which you'll be surprised at how often you still can't see what's in the actual photo, you can enlarge the photo, and this will pull up the full size image, but it's still not the actual photo that the camera trap took. You have to click on this button, View High Resolution Image, to see the actual photo that the camera took. So it is literally a 4-step process to get to the actual photo that was uploaded. It's a pain. It doesn't make any sense, but it's how it works. Once you're here, though, you can use the right and left arrows to cycle between different photos. So we could go back, we could go forward, so on and so forth. And so that's how you go between the individual photographs. Okay, this leads us to a really important point, and that's what happens when you get a photo of a human. Well, there's 2 instances. First instance is if you're someone's setting up the camera, then in that case, we want to give them a very special name. It's human camera trapper. And in the other case, where it's a separate human, and I think we'll have at least one of those instances so we can show you what that looks like. It's just human, doesn't matter. The next thing that this points out is the computer's getting better and better and better every single photo that's uploaded at identifying what's in the photograph for you. And so it will give you a guess for the photo that for the animal or the species that it thinks is present in your sequence. And those guesses are right here on the right-hand side. For most of these situations, it's pretty dang good at this point. But it's not perfect. And it even can give us the group size, which blows my mind. That's really, really cool. But it's not, again, it's not perfect. So we always have to go in and verify. So in this particular case, we have a vehicle. We also have a human, and these are camera trappers. So all we want to do is click on one of them. And when we do that, notice that it says the 43 photos will be deleted. This happens anytime you upload a photo of a human being. Anytime you upload photos of humans and you tag them, you're going to say, oh, this is going to delete these photos. You want to click continue because we save all the data that we gather from humans. We save that, we extract that, we use that, but we delete the actual individual photographs so that on the back end, we're not sharing publicly any photos of human beings. Okay, but for these ones, these are, like I said, they're special humans. So if you need to edit an identification because this identification is correct, Wildlife Insights got it wrong, or you need to add some detail, you go through. And again, this is after looking at the entirety of those 43 photos in the sequence. I can just tell you because I was there, there were 4 humans and 2 vehicles. But we're going to go through, we're going to click on edit, and we're going to say, this is a human, but it's a camera trapper. We want to add that little caveat at the very end because the way that we analyze the data on the back end, we treat human camera trapper differently than we treat any other type of human detection. So we're going to click human camera trapper. There were 4 of us. We then want to add an animal. In this case, we're going to add a vehicle, but we want to add an animal because, oh, Really quick, Natasha asked, does the program automatically store that data of deleted human pics? Yes, it does, automatically. So the minute you upload it, it's going to store it. It's going to be usable. So you will have those human detections. They will be available and they can be used. You just won't be able to get those photos back. So that's why if you want to have the actual photos of humans saved somewhere else, save it to your computer, save it to your hard drive before, because the minute you upload it to Wildlife Insights and you tag it, those photos are going to be deleted and they're permanently deleted. And that's just the way it works. If you're using a public tagging program to avoid privacy issues, we have to delete those photos. Okay, so then we're going to go to add and we're going to add in vehicle. We can do official vehicle, that's fine. And there were two of them. If we scroll through here, we can see my crappy Xterra and Jenna's awesome Gladiator. But we're going to do that. We're going to then say save. It's going to say, okay, are you sure you want to delete these photos? There's humans. And you're just going to say yes. And then it says, okay, this is what I'm logging. Human camera trapper, 4 of you, official vehicle 2. And you just say, yep, that's correct. And it'll save and automatically take you to the next sequence. If you are looking at that next sequence and you're like, all right, cool, super awesome. Oh, notice how it changed that 376 to 367 as I wasn't looking. Anyway, that's the power of the not duplicating upload images, whatever, in the flesh. So there you go. I wasn't lying when I said that. All right. So what's cool about this process is we just made a classification. That's great. What's also cool about this is you get to see all of the sequences, or at least the first photo in all the sequences. So if you're the person that uploaded these photographs and you don't want to look through the blanks, that's totally cool. This one looks like it could be a blank. All right, skip it. This one looks like it could be a blank. All right, skip it. I'm sorry, I have undergraduate students in this training right now, but this is unfortunately the name of the game. The photos that other people don't tag are the photos I unfortunately have my undergrads look through and tag. So you can do them a solid by tagging the blank photos, but if you don't want to and you only want to do the cool mountain lion photo like this one, that's also totally okay. All right, so then let's go through this. This is another instance where we have a mountain lion in this thing. We could tell that this is a mountain lion from there, but let's say we couldn't. So let's say we have to zoom in a little bit. Okay, if you can't tell what the animal is and you pull up the high resolution image and you still can't tell what the animal is, there is a zoom function, so you can zoom in. That sometimes helps. You can obviously zoom out. You can then also go to edit photo and you can change things like the contrast. I don't know why you'd want to change the contrast in a dark photo, but maybe it would help. You can make it brighter. So you can go to the brightness and you can change that. That sometimes helps. But you can adjust those. There's also sliders right there. So you can adjust those. That sometimes helps. And then again, the computer will also try to help you if it can, and it'll try to put a bounding box. That's what this little red box is, around anything that it thinks is an animal or anything that it thinks deserves a classification. Again, this is not perfect, but to give you an idea, just 2 years ago, when we started using Wildlife Insights, I would upload photos to the system, and because the only photos that existed in Wildlife Insights at that time were from India, it would say that like basically everything was a Siberian tiger, which was awesome. That would be super cool, but obviously wasn't correct. In the 2 years that we've been using this system, the Wildlife Insights algorithm has gotten ridiculously good. It's like, I don't know, the Matrix, Terminator, you name your scary AI at work, like it is really truly that. And every single photo that we upload, it gets better and better and better, to the point where if you've got a mule deer hoof anywhere in the picture, it somehow knows it's a mule deer. It's pretty incredible. Having said that, though, I still don't trust it because I was there when it was telling me Siberian tiger for years and years. So take that with as you may, but it will try to help you out. So again, if the computer gets it right, your job is super easy. All you have to do is either apply to sequence, or you can click this handy button and say, yes, computer, good job. That's a mountain lion. Go to the next one for me. And it'll automatically take you to the next sequence. So you can do it that way. Let's say, though, that the system got it wrong. So if we click on this one, again, it's a mountain lion, which is kind of cool. If we say, okay, we got a mountain lion in the sequence, but then we say, oh, that's actually not a mountain lion, that's something else. Again, to change a classification, you just click on the edit button. You would go in and you'd say that is a Siberian tiger, I guess. Why not? There we go. Oh, Siberian tiger is not even an option anymore. All right, well, I don't know. It's literally anything else. It's a gastropod. So you could add that, you'd save those changes, you could go in there. In this case, the computer, once again, did get it correctly. So we're going to do that. The common name that's used for mountain lion in Wildlife Insights is puma. So we use puma. For everything else, it's what you will typically say if you see one: moose, elk, mule deer, striped skunk, that type of stuff. Mountain lion is the only one that we usually say something else like cougar, mountain lion, but it's puma in the system. Save, go to the next one. Okay. Now we're going to go through some of the special cases, and then we're going to finish with some like last minute things. And my students always joke with me that I say, okay, last thing, when I'm going through something like 10 times. I'm going to try not to do that. So I'm going to say, all right, this is one of the last things we're looking at, but not the very last. So here we have mule deer. And again, until this recent update, the computer was actually really bad at identifying counts of individuals within a photograph. It again has improved that dramatically. And we do keep track of group size in our detections. So that leads us to the first thing that I wanted to go over. Then we're actually going to stay on this sequence for the next thing I wanted to go over. So we do keep track of count. That can be kind of difficult when you have 5, 10, 15 photos within one sequence, and each photo's got a different number of individual animals in that sequence. What number do we use? There's two processes we follow. Process number one: if you can tell that there's an individual animal that has gone into the sequence, left the sequence, and another individual animal has then walked through the sequence, we are basically 99.9% certain that that is a different animal. It's very easy too. If it's like a female mule deer and a male mule deer, you can obviously tell that those are different individuals. In that case, we would assign it a group size of 2 or whatever the number was. If that's not the case, where it's not blatantly obvious that there is multiple individuals in that photo, we take, and I'm going to try to say this correctly, we take the maximum number present in at least one photograph in the system. So as an example, if there were 4 deer in one photo, 6 deer in one photo, 8 deer in another photo, and we had no idea if any of those were different individuals, we would assign a count of 8 because we had at least one photo from that sequence that had 8 mule deer. Does that make sense? Could I get a thumbs up maybe for that, if that made sense? Okay. All right. Looks like, oh yeah. Casey, go for it.
Yeah, just to confirm, so group size is based on the sequence, not the individual photo.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Very, very good. Yeah, that's the exact case. So I almost want you to get into the mindset where the individual photo is just part of the whole. And so yeah, we are looking at we call them an event, a detection or a detection event or whatever you want to call it. Those are classified and categorized by the total number of photos in the sequence. So each individual photo is just part of the whole. So hopefully, yeah, everything we do, all the classifications we make are towards the whole sequence, not just the individual photos in that sequence. Okay, so again, the computer's getting so freaking good at this that it's scary. So in this case, it knew that there were 3 individuals here, which is awesome. So there's a mom and her 2 little ones. Oh my goodness. Anyway, and so it got it correctly. If it didn't though, it's a super easy fix. You just go to edit and you can adjust the group size here. You can also write it in. I don't know if there's 80 mule deer or something like that. Oh, it won't even let me put 80. That's hilarious. But anyway, so we're just going to change it back to 3. We're good to go. Now we're going to stay on this sequence because that brings us to the next thing. So for my particular research at the University of Utah, I do a lot of work on predator-prey interactions. And unfortunately for our ungulates, predator-prey interactions typically involve young fawns, young deer, young moose, young elk. They are the ones that our predators like the most. And so I do keep track in my data sets of where young are, when young are active, and how that alters or interacts with predator behavior and distribution. But I can't do that unless we correctly identify whether or not fawns or young are present in a photograph. And so we do keep track of that information only for ungulates. So if there's young skunks, squirrels, all that stuff, you're more than welcome to keep track of this information. We might use it another point, or maybe a grad student will come through the lab and wants to look at that. And if it hasn't been already categorized, they have to look through every photo. So you may be able to save them some time. But for ungulates especially, we do keep track of juvenile versus adult. If you are at all, oh, my Alexa's telling me to put out my recycling. Sorry, hold on real quick. Thanks. If you are at all questioning whether or not a juvenile is present in a photograph, this gets to like the last thing I was going to mention. It's so much better to just bombard me with questions about, hey, is this a juvenile animal? Hey, is this a mule deer? Hey, is this a bobcat? Then again, making an incorrect classification. So I am going to, in the chat right now, I'm putting my phone number. I want anyone and everyone to feel like they have complete, like, I don't know what the word is, permission, I guess, to text me photos. Doesn't matter what time, doesn't matter when, of potential classifications that you have a question about. Please feel free to do so. I'm openly telling you to do that. I would much rather get a photograph from one of you about, hey, is this a moose? Than just about any other text I could possibly get. So please feel free to openly use me as a resource when you're going through and identifying these photographs. I'm more than happy to do it. This is like, I think this is year 13 or 14 for me doing camera trap stuff. So at least in Utah, I've got the species down. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help with the juvenile stuff. I've looked at millions of these at this time. Please feel free to use me as a resource. There's also a chance I won't know, and then we get to commiserate about the fact that we have an unidentified animal there. It's super fun, super sad. But feel free to use me as a resource because, again, this is an important thing to note. We do want that information, especially about juveniles. So if we come across a sequence that has juveniles present, to log that information, you click the red arrow that pops up when you do edit identification. So again, it's got right here, it wants you to just apply to a sequence. No, click on edit, click that little green arrow, and then when down to relative age, there's a juvenile right there. Now, I get a lot of really good questions like, do I need to specify the number of juveniles versus the number of adults? You don't. The way that we model currently, juvenile presence versus juvenile absence is exactly that. Is it present or is it absent? So it's called a binomial variable. Essentially, it's a 0 or a 1, whether or not that animal's present or not. And so we just need that notification that juveniles are present in that sequence. We don't need the number that we're juvenile and the number that we're adult. So we just assign juvenile classification to all 3, just creates a separate column that says juveniles were there, and that's all we need. Go ahead, update those images, and then you can save and go to the next one. I think there's only one other thing before I get to the fun, like the last minute fun stuff. So let's go to one more classification that has an animal in it. Why not a black bear? Fun fact, most of the black bears in Utah are not actually fully black, and most black bears in general aren't fully black. But here we go. So we've got a black bear in this sequence. So we can see it gets nice up and close to the camera, and then it starts walking away. So in this case, there is just the one animal. So again, the computer got it correct. You could put that. But what if there is more than one animal in a sequence? It's really easy to add one. You just click edit, add animal right there. If you accidentally add an animal that's not in that sequence, it's also really easy to remove it. You can just remove that right there. There you go. You save, go to the next. Okay. So now we're down to the fun stuff. So you may have noticed that if you go to the cataloged images, there's a lot of really cool wildlife photographs. If you're on the Sageland newsletter, or if you're in my lab and you've been in our lab and it's just covered in photographs, we like to keep track of really awesome photos that we get from the animals that we're studying. And so if you come across a photo that you think is particularly cool, it doesn't matter if you think someone else thinks it's cool or not. If you think it's cool and you're going through, like, oh man, that's an awesome photo of a moose. That is an awesome photo of a moose, I think. There's a little highlight button that's right here. Highlight buttons are immediately made publicly available, or highlighted photos are immediately made publicly available, and they go into that nice little highlighted folder in the cataloged photos, making it really easy for us to download on the back end to then share with everybody in the group. So if you come across really cool photos and you want to highlight them, please do so. We highly recommend it. Yeah. And so it's a fun little thing that we do at the end. And also, if you come across a really cool one, you want to download it, please feel free to do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the other 477 images from this camera. It looks like the upload was completed for this entire site, so that's great. So you all literally helped me upload data to our project today, which is fantastic. So thank you for that, but I'm going to leave these up here for someone else to upload. Hopefully there's some good ones. Oh, there's a big old buck right there. That's awesome. Oh, that's a bull, actually. Yeah, that's an elk. And so we'll go ahead. We'll open this up for questions. And if there are none, then we will close everything out. So are there any final questions on Wildlife Insights? Yeah, Ian.
Hey, quick question. If we have an account with Wildlife Insights already from prior work, can we ask you to just get added to Wasatch Wildlife Watch, or should we use the link you suggested earlier?
Totally up to you. Yeah, if you've got an account, it's no problem for me to just add it. So if you want to keep rolling with that account, the cool thing about having your own account is I think on the back end, you might be able to track how many identifications you do or something like that. And so I could see a benefit for it for there. So yeah, if you want to use your own account, I'm pretty sure I've got the email already. So I can just add you to the project.
Cool. Yep. I tested the login tonight. Still works. So
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, that should totally work. And yeah, Ian's been doing this for years, so if I don't know the answer, Ian will know the answer.
or Spencer.
Yes, or Spencer. Great question though. There's one in the chat real quick. Is there a specific day of the week that photos are usually uploaded? That's a really good question. Yeah. So like I said, it kind of becomes a race once photos are uploaded to the program, because at this point, our image analysis team is getting really big. And so my rule of thumb is I usually have students in the lab Tuesday and Thursday at the highest frequency, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a little bit lower frequency. So typically your best day, because most of them are just in the lab and a lot of them are uploading photos. Typically your best day to get a chance to start going through and identifying photos is on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the semester when school's in. So like over the holidays, there's a very decent chance there's not going to be a lot of photos in the system. During the summer, there's a decent chance there's not going to be a lot of photos in the system. But when school's in session and sometime during the week, there's usually photos that are uploaded. Really good question. Also, if you notice there's no photos in the system and you really want to go through them, let me know and I'll make that a priority to upload some. All right, any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna
Hey,
do some.
Austin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a kind of a side, I guess. Are you using Wildlife Insights to store your UN data? Is that what your Wasatch Wildlife Watch is?
It is. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
So
Yeah, Natasha and I are, yeah, we're like messaging each other right now. We're like, ooh, maybe we should switch to Wildlife Insights instead of the database. So yeah.
yeah, if you guys go that route, I think there is a free or an exemption, a student or like some type of exemption for the storage fee.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if you don't want to go that route, but you still want to use Wildlife Insights, for whatever reason, I shouldn't even be recording this. But anyway, I'm a beta tester for the program, so I still have a free account. So we could work it out so that I could create a separate program or project for you if you wanted to use Wildlife Insights for free.
Okay. Yeah, we can Natasha and I can talk about it more and reach back out to you. Thank you.
That would be great.
Awesome. Casey, yeah.
Yeah, for those of us who are uploading photos from a camera that we set up, is there a specific timeline of when you wanted those photos tagged?
Tagged, not necessarily.
Okay,
Really the impetus is just getting them into the system.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, so like I uploaded the photos from that site. I'm leaving those 477. They're not going to be tagged, but I guarantee you if I log back into the system in 1 or 2 days, they're going to be gone. And so like the tagging isn't as important as the uploading process, but the timeline for actually uploading, I set a reminder in my calendar that if I haven't seen that someone that's held on to their photos hasn't uploaded their photos by like Christmas time, I'll usually be reaching out to you and just saying, hey, do you plan on uploading those? Or can I grab those or snag those from you? So I guess that would be your deadline. Would maybe be like around Christmas if you could get your photos uploaded. But then tagging again, like the minute you upload, it's open season on the actual tagging, and it usually gets done relatively quickly.
Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm planning on uploading before I return all the gear on next Friday. Um
Cool.
okay, and then so since this is an open source, I won't be able to guarantee that I can tag my own photos. It's kind of whoever is available at the time, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the best way, like, so if you upload and like the photos are immediately there once you upload. So if
Mhm.
you do want to make sure that you are the one tagging those photos, I would just stick around for when the
Okay.
upload is done. And like it is relatively quick, right? Like those 500 photos got uploaded before we were done talking about like the tagging process. But yeah, that's really the only way to guarantee that you're the ones tagging those photos if you do the tagging immediately after. If there's a thing that you like need me to know about that you're like, hey, I need to be the one tagging these photos, let me know and I'll just send out a call like, hey, the system's being tagged by just a single user right now. Please like avoid logging into the account. Can't guarantee that that's going to stop people from logging in, but I can at least send out that thing if you're like, I really want to be the one, or there's like, sensitive stuff going on or whatever. Like, please feel free to do that.
Okay, yeah, that I don't really have an issue. I can kind of go through the photos on my computer to see what's cool that I found from the camera. So I don't need to necessarily tag them, but just kind of curious about that process.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
technically the minute you upload them. Oh, and that leads us to one other thing I totally forgot, and I'm happy I still have this in the recording. I am not able to check what's in these photos before they find their way into the system. And I'm also not able to be responsible for what might happen in these photos. And so there's two major things that have happened that I unfortunately can't really control. And this is your disclaimer right now. If you see anything illegal, we have to report that to the police. So if you see anything illegal, and if it's human being, do not tag that photo until you let me know. We have to save those photos. I have to send that to the police. Very, very uncommon. It's happened once in 12 years, but I need to know if you get that information. The other thing, people are weird, man, and they do weird stuff in front of the camera. Again, really, really rare. And if I could, I would just immediately get rid of all that stuff. But if you're uploading and something weird's going on in the camera, that data to me is not worth it. Just delete it. Don't upload it to Wildlife Insights. If it gets into Wildlife Insights, please be the one that tag that stuff as soon as you can. If not, let me know so I can go in and tag that stuff. We want to keep Wildlife Insights as clean as possible. We've never had an issue. We don't want to have an issue, but people are people and they do weird stuff in front of the cameras. So please let me know or take it upon yourself. This is me giving you permission. I'd rather lose data about a human being at a particular site than upload some weird nefarious thing that's going on that I don't want in the system. So that's the last little thing. Yeah, it's an inevitability. It's an extremely rare, but yet inevitable thing that we catch in the cameras. So, okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, sweet. Thank you all so much for joining. Seriously, this is the way that we actually go from data to action, from data to peer-reviewed manuscript, from data to science, is we get these photographs, and it's one thing to go out into the field and set up these amazing monitoring devices and monitor these awesome animals. It's a whole other thing to actually use that data. And this is how we go from gathering that data to using it. So without you all on this team, we wouldn't be able to do that with just the sheer number of sites that we set up every year. So I can't thank you enough. Before I let you go, though, it looks like Mike might have one more question. Yeah, Mike, go for it.
Yeah, Austin, were you going to give us the login information, the password?
Oh yeah, totally. Sorry. And even if you're from UN too, you can stick around for this. It's not like I already told you all my data is public anyway. But yeah, if you're from UN, you're free to go. If you're from Wildlife Watch, I'm just gonna put in the chat really quick what the username and password is for our tagging account. And yeah, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Stick around if you want that. I'll also send it out in an email as well. But yeah, the username is just my email address. Thank you, Natasha. See ya. And the password is Wasatch Wildlife Watch, all one word with all the W's capitalized. And you can try and log into my bank or anything like that. Sorry, that password's not going to work. So feel free to actually send that one out. But yeah, so that's the tagging account. It's my email address, and then all one word, Wasatch Wildlife Watch with all the W's capitalized. That'll get you access into it. If you for whatever reason lose that or don't have it, just let me know and I'll send it over, and then I'll also send it out and include it in a folder that I'll send out to the whole group with the recording as well. So all right, cool. Well, thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for joining on a Thursday night. And yeah, have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.